So I'm Susan Tyson, and this is my video series I call Just Ask, where I meet with interesting people and ask questions and learn. Today I'm talking with a couple of friends who, like me, use AI tool for content development. We're going to talk about the tools we use, how we use them, and why. So let's start with some introductions. Please tell us who you are and what you do. Lorraine?
Hi, I'm Lorraine. I do kind of a range of things from instructional design, e-learning design, content design, writing and marketing websites, blogs, and yeah, content strategy. But the thing that ties it all together is that I embed psychology and behavioral science into my communication, and that's why I call myself the contentologist.
Awesome. And Kristina?
I'm Kristina Sorrelli. My first passion is operations and organization. And I also do a little writing content on the side for social media. So, of course, I have dabbled in a lot of AI and content writing as well, and dipped my toes in it a bit.
Okay, and I am, as I said, I'm Susan Tyson, a marketing consultant. I specialize in B2B strategy and execution. I'm the author of Business Marketing Strategy and my newest book, The Marketing Audit Guide. I'll include information on my books in the meeting notes. So let's get started. Lorraine, you want to kick this off? What AI tools you use and how you use them?
Yeah, sure. So I use a variety of tools. The way I see it is, you know, the AI tools, they're there for different jobs, and combining them just as if you were a builder and you have different tools to build a house. The main one that I'm using at the moment, which a lot of people are using, is Chat GPT. And I use that for all sorts of things. I use it for brainstorming, for content calendars, for changing the tone of text. So if I write something, I'm like, oh, I want to say this, but I want it to be a bit more conversational and friendly. Then I run it through Chat for some ideas. I use it for understanding terminology when I'm stepping into industries that I don't know very well. I get a rundown of like what's the kind of most common terms, and you know, even what are some of the challenges in that industry. So I use it to give me an oversight as a little bit of a subject matter expert. Taking that, of course, not as gospel, because what you get through with what you get through, you need to be a bit critical, because sometimes it may not be true. So I always fact check, and I don't take something as a given. For example, if a link comes through in Chat and I've asked for links to different research, I will always go and check the links. But it's really great for a starting point or a midpoint when I'm changing direction or brainstorming. Yeah, changing language from passive into active. I work across the US and in Canada and New Zealand and Australia mostly, but there's different spellings for those areas. So I also use it to help with the finer details of editing there as well.
And I have questions for you, but Kristina, let's talk about what tools you use and how you use them.
Well, I use Jasper AI, I use OpenAI, ChatGPT, and I also beta tested another AI tool for quite a while, and it was not anywhere near what the tools that I'm using currently are. I use it mainly to digest large quantities of content, to summarize, to look at you know, where the focal point of content is, use it to, the key to really, I think, when utilizing it for large quantities, I think that that's fine. But when you're rewriting or taking it and having it summarize things, you have to be very careful. I've, found that it does take things out of context and use its own vernacular to maybe prop up a lot of things. And so in no way, in uncertain terms, is it, the end all be all. It definitely takes a human to oversee a lot of that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a lot of manipulating, should I say, by human when you're using these tools. So.
And Lorraine, it sounded like you used ChatGPT to take the place of Google.
Yeah, I do a lot. I use it for that kind of idea generation or searching information. I just find it's a bit faster than having to filter through Google. Although, of course, now that there's tools getting embedded into the browsers, so I may switch back. We'll see what happens.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have a ChatGPT tool embedded into my Chrome.
Really?
It's a pain. I just actually uninstalled it. It was a pain in the arse. So I uninstalled it. Now I just use I just go to chat and search there.
So by having it embedded in, how does that work? I mean,
so there was a sidebar that would come up, and it was more annoying and more, yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's good to know. I was going to go in and install that today. I was on
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'll try it on the desktop first. But,
yeah, it was more annoying and more, it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was more integrated and more of a seamless type of thing.
Sure.
It wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, so I just kind of uninstalled it because it was inhibiting what I'm used to doing. The one thing that I still do in Google, it was inhibiting that, and so I just uninstalled it and got rid of it. And now I just went back to chat where I search, and then the one thing that I do in Google.
Yeah, and I read that ChatGPT is Jasper is integrating ChatGPT. Have you heard that, Kristina? I haven't had the time to look at it or to test it, or to see what a difference it makes.
I used their beta chat portion, right?
Oh, is that what Jasper calls chat is their version of ChatGPT?
I'm assuming.
Okay. All right.
Because it functions just like I can put in prompts, I did find a great article that was how you can get chat to provide citations and all of that. It provides the prompts for that. Because I know we had discussed, how can you get those citations and different things. So I've been paralleling Jasper's prompts and using them in OpenAI chat and trying kind of paralleling the prompts there and prompts there. I found Jasper far better results than in the OpenAI chat. They just have, I think it's learning so much better. Maybe from what I'm doing, it's providing far better results.
Interesting. And I've used, I even just researching my marketing audit book, I've used the Bing search tool that is AI powered, that does provide all of the citations, which was something that that I like, because I actually got more information if I went into the full articles. So Lorraine, what would you say? Let's talk about best thing, worst thing. Best thing about your AI tools, and worst thing.
I know one of them's kind of like both. I think to get the best out of AI tools, it's picking the right ones for the right job. So not all of them do everything. So I use some sort of combinations as well. For example, like with chat, when I'm using it for writing, when it spits stuff out, I usually find that it's the readability is too high, and that it's like a grade 8 or 9, which is not what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for elementary school children to be able to, in most cases, to be able to read what I'm writing. So I quite often use Hemingway in combination, and then so when chat spits something else out, I put it into Hemingway, and it's the readability is too high, and then I tweak the difficult parts and I make it flow better. And I use Co-Scheduler Headline Analyzer for writing more interesting and more hooky, engaging headlines. I find chat puts some things out, but sometimes they're a bit, so far, I just find I can get a better result if I use a different tool for that. So I think for me, one of the things is that not each tool should be a thing by itself, and really the magic comes is when you're combining different tools to get a higher output. A downside is of course is just taking things at surface value. Like if you're just prompting, taking it out and copying and pasting, I don't think that gives the value. The value is really in knowing what good looks like. So it's like you have to know what's going to move people, what content is going to engage people, rather than just getting words on a page, depending upon what your business goals are, of course. So that's a bit of a downside of where I could just see it being used as just to grab a whole lot of content and chuck it out at people. Then it's not making the difference. But if you're using it as refining and elevating your work and increasing, the directions that you're thinking in, then I find the tools really useful. And also when you work remotely by yourself, it's kind of like having a bit of an office mate. So I enjoy that kind of getting feedback as well.
Cool. Kristina, what can you weigh in then on best thing, worst thing?
Best thing, it does save time when you're consuming large amounts of content. So I consume large amounts of content every day, all day. So it does help when you're trying to summarize and analyze a lot of content. I do find it goes off the rails, right? So you'll be going along and it'll be doing what you want, and then all of a sudden it will just kind of start doing its own thing. It will start spitting out things that aren't relevant, are no longer, relevant to what you're doing. It'll start saying this text will say, it kind of loses its way for a while, and you'll have to keep saying no, thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down, and you'll spend about 20 minutes doing thumbs down, and then finally it like regains its composure, and then all of a sudden it starts going back to what it was doing. It's very interesting how it will lose its mind, right? And it's like it's testing you. Are you really paying attention? Are you really looking at the content that I'm spitting out? Because if you aren't, if you're just taking it and repurposing it without looking at it, are you noticing that I'm all of a sudden giving you something completely different, right? that's how I feel sometimes. It's like, hey, spot check, are you really looking? But it's interesting because I will take the same prompts and put them in both, and I will get completely different
Mhm.
answers. I'll do one in Jasper, one in OpenAI, and get completely different
Mhm.
answers. So you can tell the training and the rails that have been put in for each, and what has been used longer, right? So Jasper's been used longer in a different angle prior to putting that initial beta in for its chat, kind of, right?
Mhm.
Whereas OpenAI is still learning, and I think it kind of doesn't have that memory that Jasper has. So you're kind of retraining it every time you put a prompt in, where Jasper kind of is retaining some of that memory each time, where I feel OpenAI is it's kind of like a baby or something that doesn't retain anything anytime. So that's my frustration there, is where it doesn't retain anything. It's a new, unless you have that perfect prompt, that perfect, directional, that perfect everything every time, you're not going to get what you want.
It's interesting that you say that, because I was using Jasper this week, even with editing my book, and I at one point, maybe I'd been working for too long, but I told Jasper to write in the a tone of Murphy Brown, and then I was like doomed. I could not get Murphy Brown out of Jasper. Murphy Brown just ended up in everything that I was doing, and I think I wasn't smart enough, Christine, to do the down thumb thing and keep rejecting it. I think I just closed my computer and walked away. I told him it was time to take a break.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we do one last question for each of you? If you have any advice to somebody who's thinking about diving into AI for content for the first time.
I would say it's not your end all be all to everything. It's not your answer. It's not your just put it in and forget about it, take it, copy, paste. It's definitely it's a co-partner, right? It's something that you utilize to aid you. It is not an answer for doing it yourself. It's a cohesive partnership that you have to work with to generate what you want. And then you have to take that, what you get, and nuance it to make it be your own. It is definitely not something that is a copy paste and run with it, because it does, remember, it's taking stuff. If you aren't giving it exactly, if you're asking it to pull stuff from the internet, or if you're asking it to pull stuff from wherever, it's taking it and some of it is not correct. Or if you're saying, like, I will ask it, most of the time I have my own content, I just need it to rephrase it. But I will say, okay, I need you to use the internet this time, right? Well, it will bring stuff, it will pull stuff in that's not correct, that's false, right? And we know that just because it's on the internet doesn't make it true. We all know that.
Sure.
Yeah,
So
be careful of plagiarism too.
Plagiarism, you have to have, even Jasper will say, you need to make sure you're checking this in the plagiarism, right? Because you could be verbatim quoting someone else's stuff. And you cannot be, especially if you're working for someone else, have something go up on someone else's, site or someone else's post or something else that's not provided your personal words, right? So you have to be very careful of that, but you also have to be careful of it not being fact, not being true, not quoting something that's correct. So that is that you've got to be hyper aware of.
So Lorraine, what would you add to that?
Yeah, so I agree with all of those, and making sure that you have the checks in place. What I'm going to add is, if someone is new to content writing or copywriting, that there's actually a really good tool called copy.ai. And what I like about this tool is that it breaks down language pattern formulas that work and that have been used over time. So that's a really useful tool for self-training or training someone else, because I think one of the limitations with using AI is that you need to know what good looks like and what's going to get results. Otherwise, you don't know what needs to change when you're using a tool to assist you. And that's where I think this other tool is a great help to teach the language patterns and get people recognizing what good looks like.
Awesome. I think that's all. I think that we've got some good advice for people who are currently using and people who are thinking about using. Before we wrap this all up, is there anything else that either of you would like to add?
I've come across some great lists of alternatives, some great list of things that maybe people don't know that are available out there in AI tools that maybe we want to also list along with this.
Yeah, that would be great. We'll add those tools in the notes. Gosh, I'm learning some stuff. That copy AI that you just mentioned, Lorraine. I'm learning some new stuff too. So we will include that full list in the copy notes. But I think that as I said, I think we've had some pretty good information here. And I thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Yep. Go out, try it, have fun.
That's it. Okay. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.